Well, in corporate America's latest move to dedicate resources to fighting systemic racism and inequality, software company ServiceNow is creating a $100 million racial equity fund looking to promote more lending within Black communities. Joining me now is ServiceNow's Chief Financial Officer, Gina Mastantuono. Gina, great to have you with us on the show today. So it sounds like instead of throwing money at the issue, you are trying to change the system in some ways, which is exciting to hear. Explain to me exactly how this fund is going to work.
Thanks, Nora. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate that. So ServiceNow's Racial Equity Fund is really designed to help transform Black communities and to shrink the wealth gap in those communities. And so 2020 for ServiceNow and for many others was a wake-up call. COVID, economic downturn, widespread social unrest. We're living in a system of inequality, and that was made completely clear for us. So the data shows us Black communities have been left behind. There's nearly a 30% national gap in the homeownership rates between Black families and white families. Black-owned businesses are twice as likely to be rejected for a loan. And we all know home ownership is one of the greatest contributors to wealth creation. It anchors families and neighborhoods, it spurs small businesses and job creation. It really improves the local economy. So we're going to work with RBC to essentially buy these smaller community loans, home loans, business loans. It really helps take the pressure off banks so that they can really say yes more often in these Black communities. You know, we're hoping that these loans will change lives. We're really trying to create real lasting impact as opposed to just throwing dollars at a problem. And for many, we're hoping we'll be able to turn the dream of owning a home into a reality. And so the many crises of 2020 could have pulled us all apart, but instead ServiceNow really has come together. We're really leaning into diversity, inclusion, and belonging, really to accelerate the progress that we've already made.
Gina, explain to me where this is going to be available and to whom to start, and what are your plans for expansion to make sure this fund is applicable across the board and across the nation?
Great question. So we are focusing right now in 10 cities across America, and they really include the cities where ServiceNow, it's our communities, where our people are in. And so RBC has and works with a diverse group of lenders, many Black-owned banks, commercial and community banks, and really focused on ensuring that we are targeting the demographics that we're focused on, right? This is very focused on Black communities to start. We will be making sure that we're looking at the impact on a quarterly basis, ensuring that we're really impacting those communities that we're meaning to impact. And we'll see if this works. We're potentially going to roll it out in some other communities as well.
Gina, as Americans are still waiting for the next round of stimulus, as we have seen the Fed take moves as far as lending programs, keeping interest rates low, what do you feel the role of corporations is going to be, like ServiceNow? Is this going to be a new initiative and strategy overall for corporations to help those who continue to be disadvantaged, especially as a result of this pandemic?
I think it's a great question, Nora, and for me especially, I think companies are becoming more and more purpose-driven, right? And at ServiceNow, we are a very purpose-driven company. We make the world of work better for people. That's why ServiceNow is my dream job. I tell people all the time, I am in my absolute dream job. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging is really part of our cultural DNA. It's one of our 5 values. So regardless of how challenging the current situation is, we're not backing off. And what we're really seeing is that the real breakthrough is about belonging, not just diversity, inclusion, but really making sure that people feel like they can bring their authentic selves to work every single day. And as we work remotely, this is more important than ever. You know, I used to believe that companies should measure productivity by how many hours people spent in the office. I know that's how I did for a long time. But 2020 really challenged that belief. You can look at our company performance over the past year to see that quality work and a result-driven culture can happen anywhere. And so it turns out that, yeah, we definitely miss those in-person interactions, but in place of those interactions is a much more collaborative, communicative environment where you really are able to display some vulnerability and empathy. I talk often about empathy being the business imperative of this moment, and empathy at mass scale in this environment is more important than ever. And I think you'll see more and more companies leaning into that for sure.
Great insight, Gina. Thank you so much for your time today. That's Gina Mastantuano, ServiceNow's Chief Financial Officer.